The galactic threat emerges. In the vast expanse of space, an ancient empire stirred. The Zoraks Dominion, rulers of 1,000 worlds, set their sights on a new prize, a small blue planet on the edge of an unremarkable galaxy. For millennia, they had conquered and subjugated, their technology far surpassing anything they had encountered. But as their scout ships approached Earth, they were about to face a challenge unlike any other. Admiral Kelthor, Supreme Commander of the Zoraks fleet, stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Flame. His 4 eyes narrowed as he studied the holographic display of the Sol system. "Tell me about these humans," he demanded, his voice a low rumble that sent shivers through his subordinates. A nervous analyst stepped forward, tentacles twitching. "My lord, initial scans show a primitive species. They've barely left their own planet. Their technology is quaint." Kelthor's mandibles clicked in amusement. "Excellent. Prepare the invasion fleet. We'll add their world to our collection, and their people to our labor force." But as the Zoraks Armada assembled, they remained unaware of a critical fact. Humanity was far from defenseless. Deep beneath the lunar surface, in a facility unknown to all but a select few, General Sarah Chen pored over classified reports. The dark circles under her eyes betrayed sleepless nights, but her gaze was sharp as she addressed her team. "The Zoraks are coming," she announced, her voice steady despite the gravity of her words. "Our long-range sensors have detected their fleet. We estimate we have 6 months before they reach Earth." A ripple of murmurs passed through the assembled officers. They had trained for this moment, but the reality of an alien invasion was still shocking. "What about Project Prometheus?" asked Colonel James Harper, his weathered face creased with concern. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "It's ready, or as ready as it'll ever be." She tapped a control, and a hologram flickered to life in the center of the room. It showed a massive spacecraft, unlike anything humanity had publicly revealed. Sleek and predatory, it bristled with weapons that put Earth's known military technology to shame. "Gentlemen, ladies, this is the UES Defiant," Sarah said, pride evident in her voice. "The first of our supercarriers, and humanity's best hope for survival." The room erupted in a mix of awe and disbelief. For decades, Earth's governments had maintained a facade of limited space capabilities, all while pouring trillions into a secret space program. The Defiant was the culmination of those efforts, a warship designed to go toe-to-toe with alien threats. "How many do we have?" someone asked. 250, Sarah replied, to gasps of shock, scattered across hidden bases throughout the solar system, each one capable of taking on an entire alien fleet. As the briefing continued, detailing battle plans and evacuation protocols, a young lieutenant raised his hand. "Ma'am, with all due respect, why keep this secret? Wouldn't it be better to warn the public?" Sarah's expression grew grim. "Panic would do more damage than the Zoraks at this point. We need time to prepare, to move our people to safety without tipping our hand. When the time comes, humanity will stand united. But for now, secrecy is our ally." Little did they know, their secret was not as secure as they believed. In the shadows of the lunar facility, a figure watched and listened. Zara, a Zorak spy who had infiltrated Earth years ago, felt a mix of fear and excitement. Her people were coming, yes, but they were grossly underestimating their prey. As the meeting adjourned, Zara slipped away, her holographic disguise never wavering. She had to warn her people, had to let them know that this primitive species had teeth, sharp ones. Across Earth, life continued as normal. People went to work, children attended school, all blissfully unaware of the cosmic storm brewing. But in classified facilities around the globe, a quiet frenzy of activity began. Scientists fine-tuned experimental weapons, soldiers trained in zero combat simulations, and politicians prepared for the day when they would have to tell the world that we were not alone, and that our new neighbors were far from friendly. In orbit, the International Space Station continued its silent vigil. But behind the public face of Earth's space program, a very different scene unfolded. Massive construction facilities, hidden in plain sight, began to power up. Skeletal frames of supercarriers, each larger than a city, waited to receive their final components. Sarah Chen stood in her office, staring out at the lunar landscape. The weight of humanity's future pressed down on her shoulders. They had prepared for this, had sacrificed so much in secret. But would it be enough? Could their hidden fleet stand against an empire that had conquered 1,000 worlds? As if in answer to her unspoken question, her comm unit chimed. "General," a voice reported, "the Defiant has completed its final shakedown cruise. All systems are green." Sarah took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. "Understood. Begin full production on the remaining carriers. And may whatever gods are out there have mercy on us all." In the depths of space, the Zorax fleet continued its inexorable advance, unaware that their easy conquest was about to become the fight of their lives. Humanity, with its back against the wall, was about to show the galaxy why you should never underestimate the tenacity of a species fighting for its very existence. The stage was set. The pieces were in motion. And in 6 months' time, the fate of Earth would be decided in the greatest battle the galaxy had ever seen. Part 2. Humanity's secret weapon unveiled. As the Zorax fleet drew ever closer to Earth, the hidden shipyards of humanity worked at a feverish pace. In the asteroid belt, massive chunks of rock had been hollowed out and transformed into covered construction facilities. Here, far from prying eyes, the future of human defense took shape. Dr. Ilara Vance, chief engineer of Project Prometheus, floated through the cavernous interior of Sarah's base. All around her, swarms of construction drones and human workers in sleek spacesuits assembled the framework of humanity's newest supercarrier. "How are we looking on time?" Ilara asked, her voice tense as she addressed her assistant. The young man, Alex, consulted his datapad. "We're pushing the limits, Doctor. But at current pace, we should have the Hyperion ready for launch in 4 months." Ilara nodded, her expression grim. It would be cutting it close, but they had no choice. Every carrier they could add to the fleet increased their chances of survival. As they moved through the facility, Ilara's mind wandered to the technology that made these ships possible. The breakthrough had come decades ago. A crashed alien scout ship in the Gobi Desert. From its ruins, humanity had reverse-engineered wonders. Anti-gravity propulsion, energy shields, and weapons that could reduce mountains to slag. But their greatest achievement lay at the heart of each supercarrier, the Nexus Core, a quantum computer of unparalleled power, coordinated every system on the massive ships. It could process information faster than any human mind, making split-second decisions in the heat of battle. "Dr. Vance," a voice crackled over the comms. "We have a situation in Lab 7. Ilara's heart raced as she and Alex hurried to the lab. Inside, they found a team of scientists clustered around a pulsing sphere of energy. The Nexus Core prototype for the Hyperion. "What happened?" Ilara demanded. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and excitement, turned to face her. It's evolving, Ilara. The core is developing faster than we anticipated. It's showing signs of, well, for lack of a better term, self-awareness." Ilara stared at the shimmering core, her mind reeling. They had theorized this might happen, but not so soon. Not when they needed these ships operational. "Can we control it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Yuki shook her head. "Control isn't the right word. We can communicate with it, guide it, but it's becoming its own entity." As if in response to her words, the core pulsed brightly. Symbols and equations flashed across nearby screens faster than the human eye could follow. Alex gasped. "It's beautiful." Ilara felt a mix of awe and trepidation. They were creating something beyond their full understanding, out of desperate necessity. She only hoped it would be enough. Meanwhile, on Earth, the first hints that something was amiss began to surface. Observatories around the world reported anomalous readings from deep space. Internet forums buzzed with conspiracy theories about government cover-ups and impending doom. In the Oval Office, President Evelyn Cruz sat across from General Chen, her face a mask of concern. "How much longer can we keep this under wraps, Sarah?" Sarah's posture was rigid, her voice tense. "Not long, Madam President. We're detecting increased chatter on social media. People are starting to connect the dots." Evelyn sighed, the weight of her office seeming to press down on her shoulders. "Then it's time. Prepare the announcement. The world needs to know what's coming." As they finalized plans for the revelation that would change human history forever, events were unfolding in the far reaches of the solar system. On Titan, Saturn's largest moon, a secret listening post picked up a transmission. Lieutenant Ravi Sharma's eyes widened as he decrypted the message. It was from the Zorax fleet, and it wasn't meant for human ears. "Sir," Ravi called out, his voice shaking, "you need to see this." Commander Elena Volkov rushed over, her face paling as she read the intercepted communique. The Zorax weren't just coming to conquer Earth. They were fleeing something far worse. "Get me General Chen," Elena ordered. Now, as the revelation spread through the upper echelons of Earth's defense network, strategies were hastily reevaluated. The Zorax, it seemed, were not the unstoppable force they had first appeared to be. They were refugees, seeking not just conquest, but survival. In lunar orbit, aboard the newly commissioned UES Defiant, Captain Michael Torres received the update with a mix of hope and trepidation. He turned to his XO, Commander Aisha Khoury. "Well, this changes things." Aisha nodded, her dark eyes thoughtful. "It does. But it doesn't change the fact that they're still coming. And they'll still try to take our world." Michael's jaw set in determination. "Then we'll just have to show them why that's a bad idea." As the Defiant powered up its systems for a shakedown run, the Nexus core at its heart hummed to life. In the blink of an eye, it absorbed and analyzed more data than a human could in a lifetime. And as it did, it began to formulate strategies, predict outcomes, and prepare for war. Across the solar system, 249 other cores did the same, each one unique, each one evolving, each one dedicated to the preservation of humanity. On Earth, final preparations were made for the announcement that would change everything. News networks received cryptic messages about a presidential address of unprecedented importance. Social media exploded with speculation. And in homes around the world, people went about their daily lives, unaware that in a matter of hours, their understanding of the universe and humanity's place in it would be irrevocably altered. As the countdown to revelation ticked away, humanity stood on the brink of its greatest challenge. The Zorax were coming, driven by forces they barely understood. But they would find no easy conquest here, for in secret, humanity had forged a weapon unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. The Supercarriers were more than just ships. They were the culmination of human ingenuity, the fusion of stolen alien tech and human determination. And at their heart, the Nexus cores represented something the Zorax could never have anticipated. An intelligence born of human creativity and alien science, evolving faster than anyone could have predicted. In the void between worlds, humanity's secret weapon waited. 250 ships, each a testament to the indomitable human spirit. As Earth prepared to face its greatest trial, these silent guardians stood ready. The Zorax were coming. But humanity, with its back against the wall and its eyes on the stars, was ready to fight. Part 3. First Contact and Diplomatic Tensions. The world held its collective breath as President Evelyn Cruz stepped up to the podium, flanked by flags and grim-faced officials. Billions watched on screens large and small, an unprecedented global audience united in anticipation and fear. "My fellow citizens of Earth," Evelyn began, her voice steady despite the enormity of her task. "Today, we stand at a crossroads in human history. For decades, we have looked to the stars and wondered, are we alone? I stand before you now to tell you that we are not. A gasp seemed to ripple across the planet. In homes, offices, and public squares, people clutched each other, eyes wide with shock. An alien civilization known as the Zorax is approaching our solar system, Evelyn continued. Their intentions are not peaceful. They come seeking a new home, driven by forces beyond their control. But in their desperation, they see our world as a prize to be taken, not as a people to be respected. She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. Then her expression hardened with resolve. But humanity will not bow. We will not surrender our home. For years, we have prepared in secret, developing technologies beyond anything publicly known. Today, I reveal to you our greatest achievement and our best hope for survival. The screens behind her flickered to life, showing images of the Supercarriers in all their awe-inspiring glory. These are the guardians of Earth, Evelyn declared. 250 warships, each more powerful than entire fleets of our current space forces. With these, we will meet the Zorax not as victims, but as equals. As the president continued, detailing evacuation plans and calling for global unity, the reaction around the world was chaotic. Panic gripped some areas, while others erupted in displays of defiance and patriotism. The internet exploded with a mix of fear, excitement, and countless memes about humanity's secret space fleet. But in the corridors of power, a different drama was unfolding. The revelation of such advanced technology sent shockwaves through the diplomatic community. Nations that had been left out of the secret program demanded answers, their leaders furious at being kept in the dark. In a secure bunker beneath Geneva, an emergency session of the United Nations Security Council was underway. Accusations flew as representatives argued over the implications of the Supercarrier program. "This is an outrage," thundered the Russian ambassador, his face red with anger. "How dare you keep such technology secret? This is a violation of every treaty, every agreement." The Chinese representative nodded in agreement. China demands immediate access to this technology. The defense of Earth must be a global effort, not the domain of a select few nations. U.S. Ambassador Rebecca Stone raised her hands, calling for calm. "Colleagues, please. The secrecy was regrettable but necessary. Had this information leaked prematurely, panic would have ensued. More importantly, the Zorax might have learned of our preparations." As the debate raged on Earth, a different kind of first contact was taking place at the edge of the solar system. The UES Intrepid, one of the first supercarriers to be deployed, hovered silently in the Kuiper Belt. Captain Zhou Chen, no relation to General Sarah Chen, but every bit as determined, stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the long-range sensors. "Contact," her tactical officer announced, tension evident in his voice. "Single ship, Zorax design. Looks like a scout." Zhou's mind raced. This wasn't part of the plan. The Zorax weren't supposed to send advanced scouts. "Battle stations," she ordered, "but hold fire. Let's see what they do." The alien ship, sleek and predatory, sliced through space with unnatural grace. It seemed to hesitate as it detected the Intrepid, clearly surprised to encounter such advanced technology. "They're hailing us," the comms officer reported, disbelief in. First contact and diplomatic tensions continued. "They're hailing us," the comms officer reported, disbelief in his voice. Captain Zhou Chen took a deep breath, steeling herself for a moment that would go down in history. "On screen," she commanded. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a being that was undeniably alien. The Zorax had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, iridescent scales covering its face, and mandibles that clicked nervously. When it spoke, the ship's advanced translation software converted its clicks and whistles into English. "Unknown vessel," the Zorax began, its tone a mix of surprise and wariness. "You are in violation of Zorax space. Identify yourself immediately." Zhou stepped forward, her posture straight and proud. "I am Captain Zhou Chen of the United Earth Ship Intrepid. You are approaching Earth territory. State your intentions. The Zorax's eyes widened in what seemed to be shock. Impossible, it chittered. The humans are a primitive species. They do not possess this level of technology. You'll find we're full of surprises, Zoe replied, a hint of steel in her voice. I'll ask again. State your intentions. There was a long pause as the Zorax seemed to confer with others off-screen. Finally, it turned back to Zoe. I am Scout Commander Krelix. We come seeking a new home. Our world is dying. We had hoped to resettle on your planet. Zoe's eyes narrowed. You mean conquer. Krelix's mandibles clicked rapidly. A sign of agitation, Zoe guessed. You don't understand. We have no choice. Our people will perish without a new world. There are always choices, Zoe countered. Peaceful ones. Return to your fleet. Tell them that Earth is not defenseless. We are willing to talk, but we will not be conquered. As the transmission ended, Zoe turned to her crew. Send all data back to Earth. They need to know the situation has changed. Back on Earth, the revelation of the Zorax's true motivations sent ripples through the halls of power. In Washington, D.C., President Cruz convened an emergency meeting of her top advisors. They're refugees, General Sarah Chen explained, her hologram flickering slightly in the secure briefing room. Desperate ones, but refugees nonetheless. Secretary of State Marcus Reeves leaned forward, his brow furrowed. This changes everything. If we can negotiate, find them a suitable uninhabited world. And if we can't, Defense Secretary Olivia Harper interjected, we can't risk appearing weak. The moment we let our guard down, they could still try to take Earth by force. President Cruz listened intently, the weight of the world, quite literally, on her shoulders. We need more information, she decided. General Chen, prepare a diplomatic mission. But keep our fleet at full alert. We'll extend an olive branch, but with a very big stick behind our back. As plans for the diplomatic mission got underway, humanity grappled with its new reality. Social media was ablaze with discussions about alien refugees, the ethics of potentially sharing Earth, and wild speculation about Zorax culture. In universities around the world, xenobiologists and xenolinguists worked frantically to prepare for potential peaceful contact. Engineering teams pored over the data from the Intrepid's encounter, seeking weaknesses in Zorax technology, while also looking for compatible systems that might aid in communication. But not everyone was focused on peace. In hidden bunkers and secret facilities, military strategists wargamed every possible scenario. The Supercarriers, humanity's trump card, were moved into defensive positions throughout the solar system. Aboard the UES Defiant, now positioned near Mars, Captain Michael Torres received the update on the diplomatic mission with mixed feelings. Seems risky, he muttered to his XO, Commander Aisha Khoury. Aisha nodded, her expression thoughtful. True, but it's a risk we have to take. If there's a chance to avoid all-out war, we have to try. As they spoke, the Defiant's Nexus core hummed with activity. It had been processing the encounter with the Zorax scout, analyzing every nuance of their language, technology, and behavior. Now, it presented its findings to the ship's crew. Fascinating, Aisha breathed, looking over the report. The core thinks the Zorax might be more afraid of us than we are of them. Michael raised an eyebrow. How do you figure? Look at the analysis of their ship design, Aisha explained. Heavy on defensive systems, relatively light on offensive capabilities. And their reaction to the Intrepid. The core thinks they genuinely didn't expect resistance. As the Defiant's crew debated the implications, similar discussions were happening across the human fleet. The Nexus cores, each evolving in its own unique way, were providing insights that no human analyst could have achieved so quickly. In lunar orbit, the diplomatic mission prepared for departure. The UES Emissary, a supercarrier refitted for its new role, gleamed in the stark sunlight. Its weapons were powered down, but not disabled, a precaution insisted upon by the military. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez stood on the emissary's bridge, watching Earth slowly rotate below. A seasoned diplomat, she had negotiated some of the most delicate international treaties in recent history. But nothing had prepared her for this. Ambassador, Captain Lisa Tran, the emissary's commanding officer, approached. "We're ready to depart. The Zoraks have agreed to a rendezvous point just beyond Neptune's orbit." Elena nodded, taking a deep breath. "Very well, Captain. Let's make history." As the emissary powered up its engines, preparing to meet the Zoraks delegation, humanity collectively held its breath. The next few days would determine the fate of two species and perhaps the future of the galaxy itself. In the vast expanse of space, two civilizations, one ancient and desperate, the other young and determined, were about to collide. The outcome would reshape the cosmos forever. Part 4. The Battle for Earth begins. The battle for Earth begins. The UES emissary glided through the inky blackness of space, its sleek form a testament to human ingenuity. As it approached the designated meeting point beyond Neptune's orbit, tension aboard the ship reached a fever pitch. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge, her calm exterior belying the nervous energy coursing through her. "Zorak's fleet detected," announced the tactical officer, his voice tight. "5 ships, including one that matches the size profile of their command vessels." Captain Lisa Tran nodded grimly. "Maintain our course. Weapons systems on standby, but passive. Let's not give them any reason to think this is anything but a peaceful meeting." As the two flotillas drew near, the vastness of space seemed to shrink. The Zorak ships were massive, their organic-looking designs a stark contrast to the clean lines of the emissary. For a moment, there was silence as the two sides regarded each other. Then, a transmission crackled through. "Human vessel," a voice chittered, the translation software working overtime. "We are prepared to receive your delegation." Elena stepped forward, her voice steady as she replied. "Understood. We're ready to begin talks." What followed was a diplomatic dance unlike any in human history. Elena and a small team shuttled over to the Zorak's command ship, their hearts pounding as they entered an alien environment for the first time. The air was thick and humid, the gravity slightly stronger than Earth's. And everywhere, the click-whistle language of the Zoraks filled the air. They were led to a vast chamber, where the Zorak's leadership awaited. At their head stood Supreme Commander Vexera, her 4 eyes regarding the humans with a mixture of curiosity and disdain. "Welcome, humans," Vexera began, her mandibles clicking softly. "We did not expect to find your kind so advanced." Elena bowed slightly, a gesture of respect. "We are full of surprises, Commander. We've come to discuss a peaceful resolution to our current situation." What followed were hours of intense negotiation. The Zoraks explained their plight. Their homeworld dying, their people facing extinction. They had searched the galaxy for a suitable new home, and Earth was the first world they'd found that could support their biology. Elena listened, her heart heavy with the weight of their tragedy. But her resolve remained firm. "We sympathize with your situation," she said carefully, "but Earth is our home. We cannot simply hand it over." Vexera's eyes narrowed. "Then what do you propose? That we simply die out?" "No," Elena countered. "We propose cooperation. There are uninhabited worlds in our system that could be terraformed. With our technology and your knowledge, we could create a new home for your people, one that doesn't come at the cost of ours." The negotiations stretched on, hope and tension rising and falling like the tides. But just as it seemed progress was being made, alarms blared throughout the Zorak ship. "Treachery!" Vexera snarled, mandibles flaring. "Your fleet approaches." Elena's blood ran cold. This wasn't part of the plan. She opened her comm link. "Captain Tran, what's happening?" Lisa's voice came through, tight with stress. "Ambassador, we're detecting a massive surge of Zorak ships entering the system. Hundreds of them. They're on a direct course toward Earth." Vexera turned to Elena, her alien features twisted in what could only be described as a sneer. "Did you think we would bet the survival of our entire species on one diplomatic meeting? This was merely a distraction while our main fleet positioned itself." Alina's mind raced. They'd been outmaneuvered. "Commander," she pleaded, "don't do this. We can find a peaceful solution. A war will only bring destruction to both our peoples." But Vexera was already barking orders to her subordinates. Alina and her team were quickly, but not roughly, escorted back to their shuttle. As they sped back to the emissary, they could see the Zorax ships powering up their engines, preparing to join the invasion force. Aboard the emissary, chaos reigned. "Get me Earth Command, now," Captain Tran shouted, her fingers flying over holographic controls. "And begin emergency jump procedures. We need to warn the fleet." As the emissary's engines flared to life, preparing for a faster-than-light jump, Alina stared out at the stars. In the distance, she could just make out pinpricks of light. The Zorax Armada, bearing down on humanity's home. Back on Earth, the response was immediate and decisive. General Sarah Chen's voice thundered through command channels. "This is not a drill. Operation Firestorm is now in effect. All carriers deploy immediately. Civilian evacuation protocols are to begin at once." Across the solar system, humanity's secret weapon revealed itself in full. Hidden bases on moons and asteroids burst open, disgorging sleek, powerful warships. The Supercarriers, each a city in space, powered up their weapons and shields. In lunar orbit, the UEAS Defiant led a battle group towards the incoming Zorax fleet. Captain Michael Torres stood on the bridge, his jaw set in grim determination. "All hands, battle stations. This is what we've trained for. Today, we fight not just for Earth, but for the right of humanity to exist free and independent in this galaxy." As the two fleets hurtled towards each other, the Nexus cores aboard the human ships worked in concert, analyzing Zorax tactics, predicting movements, and coordinating the human defense with inhuman speed and precision. The first shots were fired near the orbit of Saturn. Zorax energy weapons lanced out, met by the devastating rail guns and plasma cannons of the human fleet. Space itself seemed to warp and buckle as antimatter warheads detonated, swallowing entire squadrons in spheres of annihilation. On Earth, citizens watched in terror and awe as the sky lit up with the fury of battle. Emergency broadcasts blared, directing people to shelters and evacuation points. In orbit, defensive platforms powered up, ready to be the last line of defense should the fleet fail. President Cruz, now secured in a bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, addressed the world. "My fellow humans, the hour of our greatest trial is upon us, but we do not face it alone. Every nation, every people stands united. We have faced extinction before, stared into the abyss of our own destruction. Each time, we have emerged stronger. Today will be no different. Today, we show the galaxy that humanity will not go quietly into the night." As her words echoed across the planet, the battle raged in space. Human supercarriers unleash swarms of fighters, their Nexus cores allowing them to coordinate with a precision that stunned the Zorax. But the aliens had numbers on their side, and their desperation made them fearsome opponents. Ships on both sides blazed and died, adding their wreckage to the impromptu asteroid fields forming in Earth's orbit. The Zorax pressed their advantage, their ships driving towards the blue jewel of Earth with single-minded determination. In the chaos of battle, Captain Torres of the Defiant saw an opportunity. "All power to forward shields," he ordered. "Helm, set a collision course for their command ship." Commander Aisha Khoury looked at him in shock. "Sir, that's suicide." Torres grinned grimly. "Trust me, XO, and trust our ship." The Defiant plowed through the Zorax formation, its advanced shields shrugging off impacts that would have vaporized lesser ships. As they closed on the massive Zorax flagship, Torres shouted, "Now, fire the Nexus cannon." A weapon never before used in combat spooled up, drawing power directly from the Defiant's Nexus core. A beam of pure quantum energy lashed out, cutting through the Zorax flagship like a hot knife through butter. The alien vessel split in two, secondary explosions rippling along its length. For a moment, the battle seemed to pause as both sides processed what had just happened. Then, with renewed vigor, the human fleet pressed its advantage. The Zorax, their command structure in chaos, began to falter. But the war was far from over. As the first wave of Zorax ships faltered, a second, larger fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system. The true test of humanity's resolve was about to begin. On Earth and in space, humans steeled themselves for a fight that would determine the very future of their species. The battle for Earth had only just begun, and its outcome would reshape the galaxy forever. Triumph of human ingenuity. As the second wave of Zorax ships entered the solar system, humanity faced its darkest hour. The supercarrier fleet, though powerful, had suffered losses in the initial engagement. Debris from destroyed ships, both human and Zorax, created a deadly obstacle course in Earth's orbit. On the bridge of the UES Defiant, now scared and battered from its daring attack on the Zorax flagship, Captain Michael Torres received the grim news. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "long-range scans show over 1,000 Zorax ships incoming. They'll be in weapons range in less than an hour." Torres shared a look with his XO, Commander Aisha Khoury. They both knew the odds. Even with the incredible power of the supercarriers and their Nexus cores, they were outnumbered nearly 5-1. "Options?" Torres asked, his voice steady despite the dire situation. Before Aisha could respond, the ship's Nexus core intervened. Its artificial voice, usually calm and measured, held a note of urgency. "Captain, I have analyzed the Zorax fleet movements and our current capabilities. There is a strategy that offers a 22.7% chance of victory." Torres raised an eyebrow. "Only 22.7%. Not great odds." "It is significantly higher than any other scenario I have calculated," the core replied. "Let's hear it," Aisha said, leaning forward. As the core outlined its plan, Torres felt a mix of hope and trepidation. It was audacious, borderline insane, but it just might work. He opened a channel to the entire human fleet. "All ships, this is Captain Torres. Prepare to implement Operation Nexus Gambit." Across the solar system, the remaining supercarriers began to move into position. On Earth, General Sarah Chen coordinated with ground forces and the civilian government. If this plan failed, they would need to be ready for a ground invasion. In the depths of space, the Zorax fleet approached, their weapons charged and ready. Supreme Commander Vexara, having survived the destruction of her flagship, directed the assault from a secondary command vessel. "The humans have fought well," she chittered to her officers, "but they cannot stand against the full might of our people. Today we claim our new home." As the Zorax closed in, the human fleet seemed to retreat, pulling back towards Earth. Vexara's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. They pressed the attack. But it was a trap. Just as the Zorax fleet entered the optimal firing range, the human supercarriers sprang their trap. Each ship's Nexus core fired up to full power, creating a complex web of quantum entanglement that linked every vessel in the human fleet. Captain Torres felt a strange sensation wash over him as the Defiant's core connected with the others. Suddenly, he wasn't just commanding one ship. He was part of a vast, interconnected network of minds and machines. "Now," he ordered, his voice echoed by every captain in the fleet. The supercarriers moved in perfect synchronization, their movements guided by the collective intelligence of the Nexus network. They wove an intricate dance through space, evading Zorax fire with uncanny precision, while unleashing devastating counterattacks. Nexus cannons fired in coordinated salvos, their quantum beams amplified by the entangled network. Where before they could split a single ship, now they carved swaths of destruction through the Zorax formations. Vexara watched in horror as her fleet was systematically dismantled. "Impossible," she hissed. "How can they coordinate so perfectly?" On Earth, in hardened bunkers and command centers, military leaders and civilians alike watched the battle unfold with bated breath. President Cruz stood in the war room, her eyes fixed on the holographic display of the conflict. "My God," she whispered, "they're actually doing it." The tide of battle shifted dramatically. The Zoracs, for all their numbers, couldn't match the perfect synchronization of the human fleet. Ships that had seemed unstoppable crumbled under the onslaught of Nexus-guided weapons. But the victory came at a cost. The immense power required to maintain the Nexus network was pushing the Supercarriers to their limits. One by one, ships began to fall out of formation, their cores overloaded. "We can't keep this up much longer," Aisha warned, as warning lights flashed across the Defiance Bridge. Torres gritted his teeth. "We don't need much longer. Look." The Zorax fleet was in disarray. Hundreds of ships had been destroyed or disabled, and the rest were beginning to retreat. But Vexera wasn't ready to admit defeat. "All ships converge on the human homeworld. If we can't have it, no one will." A group of Zorax dreadnoughts broke through the human lines, making a suicide run for Earth. They never made it. From the surface of the moon, a massive cannon, hidden for decades, fired. A beam of pure energy, powered by an antimatter reactor buried deep beneath the lunar surface, lanced out. It struck the lead Zorax ship, vaporizing it instantly. The beam continued through the formation, destroying ship after ship. "The Artemis Array," Aisha breathed. "I thought it was just a myth." Torres allowed himself a grim smile. "Looks like we had one more ace up our sleeve." With their final gambit foiled, the remaining Zorax ships fled. The battle for Earth was over. Humanity had won. In the days that followed, the solar system buzzed with activity. Rescue ships picked up survivors from both sides. On Earth, people emerged from shelters, blinking in the sunlight of a world forever changed. Aboard the Defiant, now docked at a lunar repair facility, Torres received a transmission from Earth. It was President Cruz. "Captain," she said, her face etched with fatigue, but glowing with pride, "you and your crew have done humanity a great service. But our work is not done." She explained that a delegation of Zorax survivors had requested to negotiate. Not from a position of strength this time, but as a broken people in need of help. "We have a chance here," Cruz continued, "to turn enemies into allies. To show that humanity's strength lies not just in our ability to fight, but in our capacity for compassion." Torres nodded, understanding the magnitude of the opportunity. "What do you need from us, Madam President?" "Your insight, your experience," she replied. "And perhaps a first-hand account of how human and alien technology work together to achieve the impossible. The Nexus cores may have won us the war, but it'll take human hearts and minds to win the peace." As the transmission ended, Torres looked out at the Earth, pristine and blue against the backdrop of space. They had faced extinction and emerged victorious. Now they had the chance to forge a new future, not just for humanity, but for the Zorax as well. The Nexus core hummed softly, its artificial mind contemplating the infinite possibilities that lay ahead. Humanity had proved itself on the galactic stage, and this, Torres realized, was just the beginning of their journey to the stars. In the end, it wasn't just technology that had saved them. It was the uniquely human traits of adaptability, creativity, and the unwavering will to survive against all odds. As Earth began the long process of recovery and reconciliation with the defeated Zorax, one thing was clear: humanity's future among the stars was bright indeed.